But we can talk a little bit more directly, thinking about how are we as humans affected directly. Nothing too major. It's not like it causes cancer or anything, but it might cost you a penny. So for example, with cars and just paint in general, car paint does break down in acid conditions. That's what you're seeing here in this picture. This is after some restoration, after spending some money on it to fix it. You can see like this haze that's on there, and that's not just dust you wipe off. This is actual changes to that paint due to that acidity. Another thing that's affected is our structures. I showed you this picture when talking about ocean acidification. That acid in the water will break down different structures. It'll break down limestone. So if we're looking at statues like this one, or this one, which is just terrifying because it's lost all of its features, are structures that we spend tons and tons of money on. We pay artists from around the world for these structures just to literally have them dissolve. This structure, this is found on Harvard campus, is called the Bixby. This was a donation from another country, from a sister country, and we actually have to cover it every year because the acid snow in Harvard region is literally dissolving the structure. So it's like, hey guys, thanks for the gift. Our environment really sucks and it'll dissolve, so we got to cover it for part of the year. Like, that's pretty sad. This video that is popping up, this is actually looking at the Washington, D.C. area. We have acid rain here too, and especially the monuments down in D.C., you can see the evidence of acid rain. So pause this video, take a look at this, and kind of bring this a little bit closer to home. So what are we doing about it? So part of the Clean Air Act, which we haven't talked about too much yet. So we have a Clean Water Act, we also have a Clean Air Act. Part of the Clean Air Act is this acid rain program, or the ARP. This limits sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, such as nitrogen dioxide, from the power sector. So from people who are generating electricity. Nitrous oxide also comes from power generation as well. Not as much as our cars, but some. And there's two ways that we accomplish this. For sulfur dioxide, we have a cap and trade program, and this program works incredibly well. What it does, this picture is showing carbon dioxide, but it works the same, is we give every company a cap. We say, hey, you can release a ton of SO2, you can also release a ton of SO2. That's all you get. You can't release more. If you release more, you got to pay a whole bunch of fines. But if you release less, say these guys, he can actually sell his leftover, his sulfur dioxide he did not waste, he can actually sell that to another company. He can say, hey, you know what, I didn't release a ton. Instead, I only used, say, 1/4 of a ton. Here's my 3/4. You know what, you can have it. But you can't just have it. I'm going to sell it to you. So if you want to release more pollution, you can, but you literally have to pay for it. And what will happen is every 5 or so years, this program and similar programs will make this cap smaller. So 5 years from now, maybe every single company is allowed to release half a ton. This company is still releasing tons and tons. This company releases less, and he'll sell it. So we're actually using the market against itself, saying, hey, yeah, if you want to do that, that's great. You just have to pay for it. So this incentivizes people to release less so they don't have to pay for it, but also to release even less so they can sell their extra to companies. So not only saving money, but potentially making money by selling their leftover credits. For nitrogen dioxide, as I mentioned before, it's not as common. It's not as much of a pollutant released by the power sector. So what this acid rain program does is it just charges companies. Hey, you released a ton of nitrogen dioxide, you have to pay us this much money for that ton. Or you released 2 tons, pay us this much money. So again, incentivizing companies like, hey, maybe I shouldn't release as much nitrogen dioxide, I don't have to pay as much. This, especially the cap and trade program, this has been incredibly successful, and we actually share the way we implemented it with other countries, particularly China. China has a cap and trade program for some of their pollutants now too, because they're borrowing the ideas of the United States, which is awesome. We want to share these ideas. So has it been effective in the United States? So this is an acid rain map from 1994. Again, seeing that the West Coast, pretty normal pHs that we were expecting, whereas here on the East Coast, we're in the 4s, in the low 4s. So let's jump forward in time to 2009. So same style of map, using the same color codes. We don't have these dark red regions anymore. Yes, we still have acid rain, but not nearly as bad. West Coast, it's completely cleared. And here in the East Coast in New England, yes, we're in the 4s, but we're in the high 4s now. We are not detrimentally, acid rain everywhere and everything's dying. And this is 2009. This was the most recent I could find. I can probably guarantee you that in 2017, it's looking even better. So these programs are working, and that's great. This is such a success story. We're still going to see the effects of acid rain for a while because that acid is still in our ecosystems, but it won't last forever. By the time we finish cleaning up our atmosphere, it still might take 5, 10, maybe 20 years for the ecosystem to start recovering from the acid that's still in the soil and still in those aquatic ecosystems. So acid rain, again, caused by two major gases, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. Both of those have been wildly successful in reducing our pollutants through the cap and trade program, as well as a direct fee on it. This acid rain not only affects ecosystems like you see in this picture, but also has effects on human infrastructure, which really is money to us. But again, becoming more of a success and in a problem that we are starting to fix.